A Supreme Court ruling earlier this year gives local governments the authority to ban people from sleeping and camping in public places. Critics say the ruling does nothing to solve the homelessness crisis. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS's Adam Yamaguchi takes us to Los Angeles, where the mayor has launched a program that could provide a long-term solution.
This is Coley King's mobile exam room.
We want to be there for them.
4 days a week in Los Angeles, the street doctor with the Venice Family Clinic makes house calls to those without homes.
We saw you, and really the last time was 2021. And then after that, we kind of lost track. We lost contact, so here you are.
53-year-old Melissa is one of more than 45,000 people experiencing homelessness in the city of Los Angeles.
There are patients that suffer from very serious medical illnesses. There are patients that have schizophrenia, have HIV. So I think there's urgency from everyone to solve this.
Nearly half of all Americans living on the streets are here in California, where there was roughly one shelter bed for every 3 people who needed one last year.
It's time to move with urgency at the local level to clean up these sites.
Earlier this year, leaders like California Governor Gavin Newsom were empowered to take action in clearing encampments after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that cities could ban people from sleeping outside.
There are no longer any excuses.
Easy to say, perhaps, but the reality is more complicated.
The goal has got to be to solve the problem.
Karen Bass is the mayor of Los Angeles.
Our problem here is we don't have enough housing. We need to build. We need to purchase buildings.
And that's where she's focused, getting people off the streets and into shelter that up until now did not exist. She's doing it by leveraging empty motels and city-owned properties with the goal of moving people indoors urgently and clearing encampments permanently.
You don't solve anything by clearing an encampment and just moving them to the next street.
So far, since 2022, her Inside Safe program has brought more than 3,000 people indoors from over 60 encampments. And the city has seen a drop in street homelessness.
This area right here, many months ago, was filled with tents. And you can imagine what family wants to bring their kids here right there if this is filled with tents and you're afraid of the people that are here. And look at it now.
Jessica has been unsheltered since 2019. Just days after we met her, she was placed in interim housing.
I should be able to get some more rest, but this has been very stressful.
Others, like Brian, are still waiting.
It's hard to be on camera showing this.
We're dealing with massive numbers, so it is going to take a while. I wish I could tell you that on this date, this problem would be ended. I can't do that. But what I do know is that if we continue along with the trajectory that we're headed on, we will be able to solve this problem.
It's an approach that could also solve a problem for Dr. King.
You may lose contact with people unless there's a plan in place.
Absolutely. We may lose them, and we may lose them forever because they are that sick. I have faith that here we're already on that pathway to try to do this the right way.
A crisis decades in the making, changing one day, one life at a time. For Eye on America, I'm Adam Yamaguchi in Los Angeles.
The average rate on a 30-year mortgage is now at its lowest level since February of 2023, falling to 6.09%. While that kind of drop could help revive the market for home sales, there's still an inventory shortage delaying the dream for prospective homeowners. But as CBS's Chris Van Cleve shows us in tonight's Eye on America, that shortage is leading to a spike in the home rental market.
About 90 minutes outside Houston, Richard Bellote loves the view from his backyard.
Every morning I get up and I go outside with the dogs and I have a cup of coffee.
But he doesn't own this brand new house. In fact, it's not for sale. His Montgomery, Texas community is part of a rapidly growing trend in the U.S. housing market. Blocks of single-family homes built specifically to rent.
It's a good stepping stone.
Despite saving diligently to buy a home,
the interest rates are just too high to manage.
He and his fiancée feel priced out of their house hunt.
And just really kind of crossing our fingers that those rates go down.
Bellote is far from alone. A July poll found 86% of renters say they can't afford a home, and 54% believe it's unlikely they'll ever be able to. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
House prices have gone up by more than 40% in just 4 years. There are a lot of people out there who really want to be in homes, and they just can't afford to get there.
Built-to-rent communities began popping up in Phoenix during the Great Recession to meet that demand. People who couldn't buy a home but wanted a house. They are higher density and smaller cottage-sized homes, a literal cottage industry now spreading across the Sun Belt. 3 metro areas are really leading this built-to-rent trend here in the Phoenix area, Dallas, and Atlanta. But nationally last year, nearly 100,000 units were completed. That's an all-time high. And part of the drive behind it, the cost to rent is less than the monthly cost to own.
We're really in the first couple innings of the BTR business.
Brent Long is leading the built-to-rent expansion for Christopher Todd Communities. He says renters stretch from Gen Z to baby boomers.
It's really renters by choice and renters by need.
If the traditional view of the American dream is you buy a home and that becomes your biggest asset, what does this do to that concept?
I don't think it takes it away. It solves some issues that are out there in terms of affordability, availability.
I just don't want to own right now.
Cassie Wilson rents by choice. Her community outside Phoenix is loaded with amenities, but free of homeowner responsibilities. Do you feel like you're throwing money away?
No, I can live here in a house that is fully upkept by someone else. I would like to buy a house out here, but on the flip side, I still want to travel. This is just the perfect in-between for us.
While growing, these communities made up only about 8% of new residential construction last year. Housing advocates in Arizona welcome anything that helps address the housing shortage, but argue these communities aren't enough to push prices down. Back in Texas, Richard Belote sees this built-to-rent house as buying time to save.
This gives us the opportunity to live in a nice place, a place that we like, a place that we can treat like a home, and hope that things get a little bit more manageable.
Home sweet home, as they wait for a break in the housing market. For Eye on America, I'm Chris Van Cleve in Phoenix.
The Fed's interest rate cut is sure to spell relief for prospective homeowners, but those looking to buy can't get into a house that doesn't exist. Experts say as many as 6 million new homes are needed to meet the demand. In tonight's Eye on America, Usher Qureshi introduces us to a growing movement to add housing by changing the way we think of traditional neighborhoods.
This is my favorite one. I might have to put this one upstairs in my office.
For the first time in her 67 years, Rebecca Hemmons is settling into a home she owns.
So that was always a dream and a goal for me.
A dream and a goal that wasn't very easy to achieve.
Not at all.
Though it's not exactly how she imagined it.
Once I had this dream about living in a single-family home and sitting on my porch with my table of lemonade and glasses for the neighbors to wave at.
She couldn't afford a single-family home near Minneapolis, but multi-family housing made her dream of homeownership possible.
Looking for housing is a tedious journey.
How big of a problem is affordable housing in the Twin Cities?
It's a huge problem, and it's getting worse and worse year over year. Just as an example, the past 5 years, I think our median housing price has increased by $100,000, which is a huge increase.
Realtor Paige Kale is part of a growing nationwide coalition of pro-housing advocates who think more building density can solve the problem. It's called the YIMBY movement, short for Yes in My Backyard. It pushes for an end to single-family zoning, making way for more multiple-unit buildings to create more affordable housing.
So if you have 4 units on a single-family site, as opposed to 1 unit, you're able to, spread out the land costs and the infrastructure costs to 4 different housing units.
Minneapolis passed a plan to do that by 2040, but environmentalists and some homeowners oppose the changes.
The 2040 plan will hurt the uniqueness, the character, and the architectural heritage and charm of many single-family home neighborhoods.
It's controversial.
There were a lot of people in community that had strong feelings about it, for sure.
Aline Chermaroff is with the Minneapolis Federal Reserve.
Of course, the real question is, will it work?
Well, it's yet to be known.
Over the next 10 years, she'll track the plan's economic impact.
This is not going to happen overnight.
Correct. Even if you drive down the street, you can see a lot of cranes. And I think from that standpoint, I would say that that's positive, that there's a number of new units coming online every year.
Minnesota lawmakers have been considering taking the rezoning reform statewide. Other places that have also implemented YIMBY policies include California, Oregon, Massachusetts, and Montana.
None of the single-family homes that I looked for matched my budget, for one, and for two, there were too many things that needed to be done that I would have to come up with more to get it looking the way that I wanted it to.
Advocates say rezoning could help more Americans like Hemmons find affordable options.
This is the first. I'm the first person in my family to be a homeowner. First time.
That's quite an accomplishment.
It is.
Homeownership redefined and neighborhoods reshaped. For Eye on America, I'm Usher Qureshi in Minneapolis.
This week, we're taking an in-depth look at the state of America's housing market in anticipation of the Federal Reserve's expected cuts to the interest rate. The cuts may spell some relief for the millions of Americans struggling to buy a home. But right now, there's a shortage of about 5 million homes for sale or rent, and that is driving up prices. As CBS's Mark Strassman reports on tonight's Eye on America, the crisis is worsening for families looking for a starter home.
I am actively house hunting. I would love to purchase a home by the end of this year.
In Houston, the starter home Felicia Ellis desperately wants seems priced like the forever home she can't afford. Take this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Someone put an offer and the offer was accepted. That was
the one that got away.
Yeah, the one that got away.
Buyers like Ellis need builders like Sharon Mayberry.
We want to take and go ahead and get this framed up.
He's committed to starter home projects like this. 40 units, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1,650 square feet. Typical price, $250,000, about average for Houston starter homes. His secret to making the math work, city zoning and subsidies. He's financing the build using nearly $5 million in city reinvestment funds.
It's the land costs that kill you right off the bat.
Oh, absolutely. Because without the land, you can't build a house.
Without the subsidies, what would they average?
Oh, man. It would be north to about $350,000, pretty close to $400,000.
CBS News crunched the numbers for income and home prices in America's largest 100 cities. 5 years ago, 1 in 3 American families could afford a starter home in 63 of those cities. This summer, it's down to 10. Just 10 cities where a starter home is possible for 1 in 3 families.
There is no doubt this is a crisis.
Chris Vincent's with Habitat for Humanity. It's Vice President of Government Relations and Advocacy. Habitat, one of America's largest builders of starter homes like these in Silver Spring, Maryland, now focuses on advocacy as much as building.
A lot of this is from tailwinds, even from the 2008 financial crisis. But we've essentially been not building enough homes over the last decade to keep up with the demand.
Carolyn Hipkins got lucky in Maryland. She was making $54,000 a year when she bought this starter home, a house rehabbed by Habitat. Sale price, $360,000 with a 0% Habitat mortgage.
Oh, I was happy when I got that call on the phone. I had to control myself because I wanted to scream.
What does it mean to you to have your own space?
Oh, peace and quiet and, just comfort.
Habitat says 1 in 6 families now spend more than half their income on housing.
What are you advocating for?
It's access to credit, it's access to land, and it's in places of communities of opportunity.
But for every Carolyn Hipkins, thousands of people like Felicia Ellis keep looking.
So you tell yourself, I am going to buy a house.
Absolutely.
I am going to buy a house.
Yes,
I am going to buy a house.
Yes. I have it written down, and I have it on a Post-it note in my bedroom.
What does the Post-it note say?
It says, you will be a homeowner.
The American dream on a Post-it note. It has sticker shock. For Eye on America, Mark Strassman in Houston.
We're in the midst of an affordable housing crisis. And as rents increase nationally, so do the number of eviction notices. According to the website Zillow, rents have jumped more than 30% from pre-pandemic prices. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS's Chris Van Cleve reports from one of the hardest hit counties, Maricopa County, Arizona, where a tsunami of evictions is leaving people homeless.
When Mahogany Kennedy knocks at a door in Phoenix,
Constable! Does the person understand that they're getting evicted?
it usually means someone is about to become homeless.
Grab your bag. We're going to change the locks.
She's one of 26 Maricopa County constables. It's her job to serve eviction notices.
Eviction numbers have truly gone up over the past few months.
So pretty much every day you're evicting people.
Every day I'm evicting, 5 days a week.
On this day, she'll attempt to serve 3 evictions.
She's gone.
Including at this apartment.
Well, this is a 3-bedroom apartment.
Which used to be home to 7 people.
You can use my phone.
Heaven Glasgow was the last to leave.
Just trying to get it together. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a lot.
It is, and everything is just so expensive right now, which is crazy.
Eviction filings in the Phoenix area are surging to record highs.
You know, I was just like, not today. Not today, please.
This judgment does say that you need to move out by the 26th.
In her South Phoenix courtroom, Judge Anna Huberman hears as many as 500 eviction cases a month, more than when the pandemic-era eviction moratorium ended 3 years ago.
There was a belief that there would be a large number of filings, that the evictions would go up, and they did not go up. There wasn't a tsunami.
Do you think you're getting that tsunami of evictions now?
That's what it appears to be, yes.
Since March of last year, Maricopa County has led the nation in eviction filings. The numbers are up 21% here compared to pre-pandemic, topping 83,000 filings. Nationally, about 3.6 million evictions are filed annually, but what's changing is where they're happening. At least 14 cities have seen double-digit increases from 2019. Most are in the Sun Belt, where populations are growing and rents are rising.
It's parents and children who are at the heart of the eviction crisis.
Dr. Carl Gershenson runs the Eviction Lab at Princeton University, which tracks the issue in 34 cities.
So these families are just one unexpected expense away from eviction.
Schedule a time and come get whatever else that you need in the house.
Christopher Aranda lived with his girlfriend in this home for 7 years.
So this is what you need right now.
The lease was in her name when she lost her battle with cancer in January. After not working for months to care for her, Aranda says he couldn't come up with the $3,000 needed to stay. How are you feeling today?
A lot of memories. It is what it is.
Where are you going to go now?
I have no idea. I got to start from scratch.
Starting over as Constable Kennedy heads to another door with another eviction order. For Eye on America, Chris Van Cleve, Phoenix.
When a Wyoming highway collapsed outside Jackson Hole last month, it threw a spotlight on something important. 2 very different Americas often live side by side. In the U.S., the top 1% now owns nearly as much wealth as the bottom 90%. As CBS's Mark Strassman shows us in tonight's Eye on America, Wyoming is home to one of the wealthiest communities and also one of the most unequal.
In Jackson Hole, Wyoming's Shangri-La in the Tetons, you need silly money to be taken seriously.
A family like mine can't live here. Not even an inkling of a chance.
John Smaley's a construction supervisor in Jackson. Like so many workers here, he can only afford to live on the other side of these mountains, priced out of Jackson Hole's new Gilded Age. Vacationing 1%ers competing for a second home or a fourth.
The billionaires are buying out the millionaires.
It sounds crazy.
It does. You're making a great wage anywhere else in the country, but here you're poverty stricken.
For most people here, real estate prices are wildly unaffordable. This county's median income is $108,000 a year, but the average listing price of a single-family home is more than $7 million.
Driving home the inequality, Smaley's commute over this mountain pass from his house in Driggs, Idaho. It's an hour drive or more to downtown Jackson, with its Old West charm and sticker shock. That's where we met Jessica Sell Chambers.
A lot of these stores, your average working person, this is not for us.
She's a Jackson Town Council member and mayoral candidate. Sell Chambers told us this downtown project is typical. Luxury short-term rentals.
What would you like it to be?
I would love it to be a multi-family, affordable housing.
But that would have been costly and was never an option.
This is beyond gentrification. This is super gentrification.
You can make $200,000, $300,000 a year
Yeah,
and not afford to live here.
correct. It's unsustainable too. Who's going to run the place? Who's going to work and be the backbone of all the services?
Even for people with all the money in the world, there's a moment of reckoning coming.
Yes.
That moment flashed briefly last month. The mountain pass collapsed, 80 feet of it gone. A landslide impassable for 3 weeks, further separating the two worlds.
You're on the TV.
Feeling it in Driggs, Idaho, Pete and Sarah Wilson and their daughter Harper. Sarah's a media creative director. Pete's a firefighter paramedic in Jackson, their hometown.
You feel excluded from the place you grew up in?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm the help, even though I'm a firefighter paramedic. Once we're done doing the job, we're expected to kick rocks, get lost.
If you're looking at the American dream or whatever, if you work hard enough, you can have what you want, but you can't.
It's not just gone for now, it's gone forever.
It's gone forever.
Sell Chambers' Jackson home has exploded in value, but the property taxes may drive her family out.
We don't want to go anywhere. It's the money is not important to us, it's the community.
The mountain pass has reopened. The divide stays in place. For Eye on America, Mark Strassman in Jackson, Wyoming.
Property owners across the country are facing never-ending legal battles from squatters who illegally take over homes. Now, at least 6 states have passed laws to deal with the problem. In the first of our two-part Eye on America look at the issue, CBS's Carter Evans shows us how some homeowners are not waiting for the new laws to take effect.
When Jean, an 81-year-old grandma in Idaho, inherited a plot of land in Los Angeles, she thought her financial worries were over until squatters claimed the property.
The sheriff won't go there and cut the locks for you.
No, they're not allowed to. The squatters have rights.
At least 20 people in a dozen RVs took control and barred her from her own land. Neighbors told us people inside were armed, and they weren't happy to see us.
You think if there were some murderers in here, they would enjoy you coming up to the crack and looking through the camera?
Who has more rights here, you, the property owner, or the people living there illegally?
Oh, I have rights. I get to pay my property taxes and pay for liability insurance.
Over the last 3 years, she's spent her savings, about $100,000, to cover legal fees, taxes, and lost rent. She finally found a buyer that will take the property with the squatters, but it's going to cost her
$800,000. I dropped the price.
$800,000?
Yes, sir.
So you lost almost $1 million on this?
Yes, I have.
Squatters' rights go back to the British legal system. The idea to ensure abandoned or unused property can be put to good use by people who need it.
No comment.
But the good intentions of centuries-old law,
a couple accused of squatting and killing a woman inside her mother's apartment,
have created some modern-day nightmares.
These squatters have turned this $4.5 million Beverly Hills mansion into a party hub.
This is the front line, if you will, in the battle to keep squatters out of an abandoned property. This property's been vacant for 4 years. It's an eyesore in the community here.
The owner died during COVID, and when no family claimed it, squatters did.
See the broken windows there, the graffiti, and someone's been living in this.
It's been a horrible nightmare.
Terry Cortez lives next door and wants the city to tear it down.
I think the neighbors and I are very scared sometimes of what kind of people come up and people sometimes come in.
Since law enforcement can't do much and court battles can take years, others are now stepping in with different approaches.
It's not right to not pay your utilities or your rent.
I was about to move too until he turned off the lights.
Lando Thomas and Kimry Kotchik run a company called Squatter Squad.
What happened when the owner came to clean the place after the Airbnb ended?
The Airbnb guest refused to leave.
And that's it?
Yep, that's it. And Los Angeles says he can stay.
They break locks squatters install and put up cameras to monitor them 24/7. But so far, nothing has chased this squatter away.
The police's hands are tied, the sheriff's hands are tied.
Squatting is a problem for landlords reaching far beyond Southern California. According to a survey from the National Rental Home Council, cities in Texas, Georgia, and Florida have more squatters than any other metropolitan area.
Knock, knock.
But there are solutions, as we'll show you tomorrow night.
Sam J, you in there, bro?
For Eye in America, I'm Carter Evans in Los Angeles.
Now to our Eye on America look at squatters. Last night we explained how antiquated laws often protect those who are illegally occupying a property. Tonight, CBS's Carter Evans shows us who some property owners are turning to when the law is no help.
When Flash Shelton found a squatter in his mother's home in Northern California 5 years ago,
Are you Flash?
Yeah.
I'm Marla. Hey. I'm really sorry.
he figured out a way to work around the system that often appears to protect the squatter, not the property owner. Shelton outsquats the squatter.
These people feel like the law allows them to do it, so why not me?
The squatter hunter, as he's known,
This is the woman leaving at 5:06 a.m.
targets squatters like this woman who moved into an apartment without permission while it was being fixed up. The property owner has provided Shelton with a legal lease to the apartment.
Based on the conversations and based on everything, I'll make a decision whether I'm going to literally move in with them.
Because he's now the real tenant, he can change the lock and turn the tables on the squatter.
They can't kick me out because I have a lease. So it's a game, it's a chess match.
Sometimes the squatter calls the cops. In this case, they quickly determined it's a matter for civil court, which still could take months to resolve with no guarantees.
Squatters are taking advantage of people. They just know that there's a system out there that allows them to live rent-free.
If someone takes possession of a property illegally, they're in violation of the law.
State Senator Bob Archuleta pushed through a new law in California allowing property owners to file a no trespass notice with local police.
It's good for a year, and it's there, it's on record. This way it gives the authority for the officers to respond because it's already been registered that no one is allowed in that building.
Florida also has a new law allowing cops to evict squatters immediately when they don't have a valid lease, and several other states have passed or proposed tougher measures on squatting. But until there are new laws on the books,
They're just saying, we're not leaving.
Lando Thomas and Kimry Kotchik will confront squatters for a fee,
Knock, knock.
starting at $2,500.
Sam J, you in there, bro? How you doing, man?
This time, they're trying to get a 26-year-old named Samjay to leave this Airbnb rental, along with his pregnant girlfriend and their 5 dogs.
You were supposed to leave on the 10th. This property owner needs his property back.
I would love to give it back to him, and as I've said, as soon as we can get a place.
It's now a race against time. If Samjay manages to stay here for 30 days, they'll have to go to court to evict him, where the law considers squatters legitimate tenants with certain rights of their own.
Are you going to move out?
It's not possible for me to get all my stuff out now.
So where will you go when you leave here?
We got nowhere to go.
It sounds like you're saying you're on the verge of homelessness.
You could say that. Yeah, times are tough.
The squad finally talks Samjay into leaving with an offer to pay for a motel room and storage while he looks for a new place to live. And as hard as that may be to believe, for now, it's the quickest and cheapest way to get this squatter to leave a property he doesn't actually own. For Eye in America, I'm Carter Evans in Los Angeles.